Hello everyone. In this video we are going to discuss about the various hormones produced by the endocrine glands in our body that help in the control and coordination of our body, of our whole system. First, let's recall what are endocrine glands. Endocrine glands are also called as ductless glands. That means they do not have any duct or pipe-like structure that takes their secretion to the bloodstream. They directly secrete their secretions or hormones into the bloodstream. What are hormones? Hormones are the chemical substance secreted by these endocrine glands which helps in the control and coordination of our body. So here in this part of our chapter we are going to discuss about these hormones and what are their function. First, pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is actually attached to hypothalamus gland, which is on the top, and they are present towards the back side of our head, just below our brain. Pituitary glands secretes many hormones. Some of them are tropic hormone. Tropic hormones, the main function of these tropic hormones is to control the other endocrine glands. That means, I hope you remember that in the previous videos we have discussed how the control and coordination, or how this whole process is controlled. Hypothalamus sends signal to the pituitary. Pituitary in return signals to other endocrine glands. So pituitary secretes tropic hormones which communicates with other endocrine glands. Next is growth hormone. Pituitary also secretes growth hormone that controls the growth of our body. If someone have very less growth hormone in their body, their growth will not take place in the normal speed. If someone produces some huge amount or more than required amount of growth hormone, they will show very high or very rapid growth. So this growth hormone controls the growth that is taking place in our body. Next is luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. This luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, also known as FSH. LH and FSH. This LH and FSH, they take part in the process of menstruation. We have discussed how menstruation takes place in our body, in the body of the females. So, for controlling this menstruation process, this luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone play a huge role. This is thyroid gland. Children, have you ever seen any person with swollen neck? That is because their thyroid gland is not functioning properly or is not getting enough iodine to work properly. This thyroid gland, the cells in the thyroid are the only cells which can absorb the iodine which we intake. Have you heard in the advertisements that the salt contains iodine, or that it is an iodized salt? That means the salt contains iodine in them, and that iodine is absorbed in our thyroid cells, thyroid gland cells, and these thyroid gland cells produces thyroxine, which is also called as T4, thyroxine hormone, and the iodine absorbed by the thyroid gland, the iodine absorbed helps in the conversion of T4 thyroxine hormone into T3, triiodothyronine. T4 to T3. This conversion requires iodine, and these hormones, T3 and T4 hormones, helps in the control and coordination of our metabolism. Metabolism means how the food is digested and the energy produced is used to perform various functions of our body. So these hormones, thyroxine and thyroiodothyronine, T4 and T3, helps to regulate the metabolism in our body. Thyroid gland also produces calcitonin. Calcitonin is a is a hormone which helps to reduce the level of calcium in our blood. It reduces the calcium level in our blood. Next is pancreas. Pancreas, you have to remember, pancreas is a gland which have both endocrine as well as exocrine activities. So the gland in our body that is both endocrine as well as exocrine gland, it is pancreas. The exocrine activity of the pancreas is the release of pancreatic juices, enzymes that helps in the digestion process, whereas the endocrine activity of the pancreas is it releases basically mainly two hormones, insulin hormone and glucagon hormone. Insulin, you must have heard about patients, diabetic patients. So in diabetic patients, they lack insulin in their body and it causes diabetes. So insulin is actually a very popular hormone which you must have heard the name of insulin. So the insulin, what is its function? It again reduces the sugar level in our body. Now you have to remember, calcitonin reduces the calcium level in our blood and insulin decreases the sugar level in our blood. Now, next is glucagon. Glucagon has the contrasting function to that of insulin. Glucagon increases the blood sugar level. Now, you must remember, insulin and glucagon, both of these two together regulate the level of sugar in our body. If the level of sugar is very high in our body, insulin is produced and it reduces the sugar level. But if the sugar level is very low in our body, glucagon is released and again it increases the sugar level in our blood. Insulin and glucagon together, they work together and regulate or control the level of sugar in our blood. Next, let's see adrenal gland. Adrenal gland are situated like a cap on top of our kidneys. That is why the hormones also have their name related to them. Adrenal glands mainly secretes three hormones: adrenaline or epinephrine. Here, ep means on the top, nephrine comes from the name of kidney. Kidney is also called as nephrine, and the cells of kidney, the functioning unit of kidney, are nephron. So, by its name, as these adrenal glands are on the top of kidney, the name epinephrine came about. Adrenal glands secretes adrenaline or epinephrine hormone. It also secretes noradrenaline or norepinephrine hormones and aldosterone hormone. This adrenaline and noradrenaline hormone together, they help our body to cope up with the stress. You see, if I give you one situation, suddenly you are driving a car, suddenly what happens? The brake fails. The brake of the car fails. Then what you will do? Either you will drive it and anyhow you try to take control, or you will jump out of the car. Next, or another example I can give you is, you are just walking nearby a forest and suddenly a lion or a tiger comes in front of you. What are you going to do? Either you can fight it or you have to run away. During that situation, this rush of energy that we get, either to control the car or jump out from the car, because in normal situation we won't jump out of the car, or either to fight the animal or run away from the animal, we need a rush of energy that is given to us by adrenaline or noradrenaline hormones. These two hormones work together and provides a rush of energy in our body to either fight the situation or flight away from the situation. That is why adrenaline hormone is also known as fight or flight hormone. That means either to fight the situation or run away from the situation. For both the cases, we need energy. In this case, what happens? Our hearts start to beat very fast, our minds start to function very fast, our brains start to function very quickly, and we try to come up with solutions. Our heartbeat beats very fast. Then what happens? The blood is continuously, very quickly being pumped out, and our lung function also becomes very rapid, so that we each and every cell of our body can get enough oxygen for the production of energy. All of these functions are mainly controlled by adrenaline and noradrenaline hormone. Here you have to remember that adrenaline has more wide range of functions in comparison to noradrenaline. Noradrenaline mainly focuses on constriction of our blood vessels, so that our blood is pumped very quickly, and it also increases our blood pressure. Next is aldosterone. Aldosterone is a hormone which controls the salt balance in our blood, in our body. Again, calcitonin regulates the level of calcium, reduces the level of calcium. Insulin and glucagon, they regulate the level of sugar, and aldosterone regulates the level of salt in our body. Next, let's see ovary. Ovary and testes we have already discussed in the previous chapter, but again let's have a revision again. Ovary secretes estrogen hormone, and estrogen hormones plays a huge part in the ovulation process and in the development of female secondary sexual characters. Whereas testes, which is present in a male, produces testosterone hormone, and this testosterone hormone produces a huge part in the process of spermatogenesis and development of secondary sexual characters in the males. Testis is the male reproductive organ. It is also known as male gonad because it secretes the male gamete, whereas ovary is also termed as female gonad because it secretes the female gamete. So here we have discussed pituitary gland, adrenal gland, ovary, then thyroid gland, pancreas and testes. These are endocrine glands present in our body that helps in the control and coordination of our body so that our body functions properly. Moving on to the next topic, that is role of hormones in completing the life history of insects and frogs. So here we must remember that the hormones are not only important in the life or for the body of human beings and animals, but for smaller animals like frog or for insects also, hormones are equally important for them to complete their life cycle. Here we have to see the process of metamorphosis. I hope you remember because in the previous chapter also we have discussed about metamorphosis. What is metamorphosis? Metamorphosis is the process by which a larva undergoes drastic changes to become an adult. For example, the larva of frog, that is tadpole, undergoes drastic physical changes and it becomes an adult, that is frog. A silkworm undergoes drastic changes to become a silk moth, or a caterpillar undergoes drastic changes to become a caterpillar. All these changes are under the process called metamorphosis. So in insects, metamorphosis process is controlled by insect hormones. They have certain hormones in their body called insect hormones, and these hormones initiate or control this process of metamorphosis where the insects gets converted or transformed from larva into adult. And in the case of amphibians like a frog, this metamorphosis process is controlled by the hormone called thyroxine hormone. Thyroxine hormone is also produced in human beings, and in the frogs also thyroxine hormone is produced from the gland, that is thyroid gland, which is present here in our neck area. Here the thyroid gland is present and it secretes thyroxine hormone, which facilitate the process of metamorphosis in frogs. Now, what is the importance of thyroxine hormone? Thyroxine hormone actually stimulates the consumption of oxygen, and thus more oxygen we inhale, more energy is produced, and that is used for the process of metamorphosis. That is why if we add a thyroxine hormone in the water, it will increase or hasten the process of metamorphosis. But for thyroxine hormone to be produced, iodine is equally important. Thyroxine production requires the presence of iodine in water. Where the tadpoles are present, iodine is required in the water for the production of thyroxine. This iodine, when consumed, help in the production of thyroxine hormone from the thyroid. That is why the presence of iodine in the water where the larvae are present, where the tadpoles are present, is required so that the iodine can be utilized in the body for the production of thyroxine, which will initiate the process of metamorphosis. That is why deficiency of iodine in water can cease the process of metamorphosis. What does it mean? If iodine is not present at all or is not present sufficiently in the water where tadpoles are present, then what will happen? This deficiency of iodine will not help in the proper production of thyroxine. What will happen then? If no iodine, no thyroxine hormone production will take place. No thyroxine hormone, no metamorphosis process will take place. That is why if the water do not contain sufficient amount of iodine, then the tadpoles cannot transform into frogs. They cannot transform into their adult forms, and throughout their life they stay in the stage of larva itself, and as a larva they die. That is why for the production of thyroxine hormone, iodine is essential. It is very much necessary. Sex determination in humans. If you will hear about a newborn baby, the one thing which we will be very curious about is the sex of the baby, whether it is a baby girl or a baby boy. But how does this sex of a newborn baby is determined? In humans, this process is followed for the sex determination of the baby before the baby is even born. Now we will see how it actually takes place. First, you must remember that we have discussed the male gamete is sperm, which helps or which takes part in the reproductive process. Then the female gamete is the egg, which takes part in the reproductive process. So the male gamete sperm and the female gamete egg, they have to fuse together. They have to mix together, fuse together to form a single cell called zygote, and the zygote will divide to give us a baby. In this process, the cells of a human being contains a total of 46 number of chromosomes. Each cell contains 46 numbers of chromosomes. But when we are talking about the gametes have only half the number of these chromosomes. That is, half of 46 will be 23. So the other cells of our body have 46 numbers of chromosomes in them, while each cell will have 46 chromosomes in it, while the gametes have only half the number, that is only 23 number of gametes in them. So there is actually a reason why the gametes have only half the number of chromosomes. Let's discuss about them. But first you have to remember, when we talk about total 46 chromosomes, in this 46 chromosomes, the 44 chromosomes are called autosomes, which have informations about how a person looks, how will be the color of the skin, and all the characteristics of an organism are encrypted in these 46 chromosomes, but it has additional 2 chromosomes, XX, or we can say XY. XX is in the case of a girl and XY is in the case of a boy. This XX and XY, or we can say X and Y chromosomes, are called sex chromosomes. Why they are called sex chromosomes? Because these 2 chromosomes, the X chromosome and the Y chromosome, are the main chromosomes in our body which determines the sex of the baby. So here we have discussed male gamete and female gamete have half the number of chromosomes in them in comparison to other cells of our body, and out of this 46 cells which are present in all parts of our body, all cells of our body, these 46 chromosomes, 44 are called autosomes and the 2 chromosomes are called sex chromosomes, that is X and Y. That means when this 46 chromosomes will be halved, then it will become 23 plus either 22 plus X or 22 plus Y. This X chromosome and Y chromosomes are the sex chromosomes which are found in our gametes. Now, if you have understood this much, let's proceed. Each sperm will have 22 autosomes plus 1 sex chromosome. When the sperms are produced in the father, in a male, then half of his sperm will have X chromosomes in them, half of his sperm will have Y chromosomes in them. Because when the sperm are being produced, the number of chromosomes divide in them. Each one will have only 23 number of chromosomes in them. So half of the father's sperm will have X sex chromosome, while half of the sperm will have Y sex chromosome. Same goes in the female, but the females only have X sex chromosomes in them. That means the eggs being produced, nonetheless they also have 23 number of chromosomes in them, out of which 22 are autosomes, but the sex chromosome, the one sex chromosome present in each egg, will always be an X sex chromosome. So here you have to remember, each and every egg of humans, female, have X sex chromosomes in them, while the sperm of the male, half will have X chromosome, half will have Y chromosome. Now, when the fertilization process will take place, if the sperm containing X sex chromosome fertilizes with the egg, then the combination it gives is, here you remember, this is 22 plus Y, here 22 plus X. So what will be the combination? The total combination will be 44 plus X and total combination will be 22 plus 22 will give you 44, while the X chromosome from the male and the X chromosome from the female, these two sex chromosomes will give you X and X. This will be your combination where both the sex chromosomes are X sex chromosomes. Hence, it will give you a baby girl. While on the other hand, if the sperm which fertilizes the egg contains Y sex chromosome, then what will happen? The combination again, this will have 22 autosomes, this will have 22 autosomes. So together you will get 44 plus here and here, X and Y. So this combination you will get. 44 are autosomes, but what are the sex chromosomes? Sex chromosomes are X and Y. That means the combination is X and Y. It will lead to a baby boy. Here you have to remember, the females will always have only X sex chromosomes in them. Both the sex chromosomes will be X, while in the case of the males or boys, one will be X sex chromosome while the other is Y sex chromosome. So in short, the sex determination actually depends upon the father. If the father, the sperms produced by the father containing X sex chromosomes fertilizes the egg, you will get XX combination. It will give you a baby girl. While if the sperm contains Y sex chromosome, Y and X combination will give you XY. It will be a baby boy. So these are two combinations which can give you a baby girl or a baby boy. And this is how the gender or the sex of a baby is determined in humans. So you have to remember that it is not the mother, but actually the father which have the ability to determine whether the child will be a baby girl or a baby boy. Now let's moving on to the next topic, reproductive health. In the previous video we have discussed about the reproductive phases and what are the changes taking place during the adolescence and puberty, how a adolescent or a teenager undergoes various changes taking place in his or her body and going through various phases, emotional, psychological, etc. So these are some of the points which an adolescent have to keep in mind to maintain their reproductive health. Otherwise, it may lead to various problems in the future. First is nutritional needs of the adolescents. As we know, this adolescence period is the period where a child shows a growth of spurt in them. They will have increase in height or increase in weight. The shape of their body might change. Then various endocrine glands start releasing various hormones. They become reproductively active. So for all these changes taking place in our body, this increase in height, increase in weight, for all this we need to keep an eye on what we eat, because this food is the energy for us. The food, whatever we eat, gives us the energy to maintain all these processes. Hence, if we take proper food, then proper growth will take place. Otherwise, if you will take too much of junk food which are rich in fats which are not good for our body, then it will lead to various fat accumulation in your body, in your blood vessels, which will further give you various health issues. And also, if you will not eat a balanced diet, I hope you remember what is a balanced diet. Balanced diet is the food or the diet which contains all the nutrients, all the nutrients in appropriate amount. That is carbohydrate, protein, vitamin, minerals, fat, dietary fibers along with water. All these, the proper amount you need will be consumed by you. Then you will have carbohydrate and fat which will give you energy, protein which will help you in growth of your muscle, then calcium, phosphorus, iron. These are the minerals which keep your body healthy, and vitamins also. So the thing which we eat in our daily basis, we have to take care what are we eating and whether are we consuming all the nutrients. This will help in a better growth of your body and to keep you healthy. Next is personal hygiene. That means, do you remember what are the changes taking place in our body during adolescence? The person or the adolescent, the teenager, one thing is their sweat glands and oil glands or sebaceous gland work very actively. They will profusely sweat. So this sweat produced by their body may make their body smelly, and if they will not take a bath properly or they will not take bath for a long time, it may lead to various bacterial infections also. That is why a teenager, especially adolescents, especially when they go and play or after the whole day's work, every day they should take bath to keep their body fresh, fit, neat and clean. Next is physical exercise. It is very important not only for adolescents but for each and everyone. But especially this is very important for adolescents. Why? Because as they are in the growing age, they need this exercise to keep their body fit so that proper growth will take place. They do not get sick very easily. Exercise keeps your body active, and also this, as they go through various emotional, psychological, mental, social confusions, this physical exercise will help them to keep their mind and their thought in healthy tract. Next is very important, say no to drugs. As I have mentioned in previous video, this adolescence period is also called as the period of stress and storm, where a child goes through various stressful situations as her mind, his or her mind and thoughts become wider. They start having various emotional mood changes due to the hormonal changes taking place in their body. So they come across various stressful situations, and some may lead them or tell them that taking drugs may relieve this stress, and for relieving the stress they might opt for taking the drugs. But you have to remember, drugs are very addictive. Okay, so once you take them, you will feel like taking them again and again, and ultimately this drug, unless prescribed by the doctor, these drugs are not healthy for you. It will affect your body, your mind, your thought. Everything will be affected by taking these drugs, and ultimately in the future you will face through various problems, including health problems. So these drugs are not good for you. You remember, children, that these changes are normal. Each and every person who have crossed this adolescence period faces these problems, faces these challenges. So taking drug is never an option for you. You should always say no to the drugs. One more thing I would like to tell you. Have you heard about the disease called HIV/AIDS? This AIDS is a syndrome, is a very big problem for us, and while taking drugs, if you will sharing the syringe, this syringe which comes in contact with your body fluid, your blood, if you will share it with other person and then it will be shared among a lot of people, if one of them is suffering from this AIDS, then the sharing of syringe will spread the disease. And you have to remember, AIDS is an incurable disease. It can never be cured, and it will affect very harshly. It will degrade your immune system, so that you will slowly become very weak, and after you might not be able to live for very long. This is such a harsh disease or such a harsh syndrome problem. That is why sharing of syringes, taking drugs may lead to not only bodily problems but may lead to various diseases which are communicable. Next topic I would like to discuss is adolescent pregnancy. That means when a girl gets pregnant in the adolescent period. You see, the legal age for a girl to get married is 18, and for a boy the legal age for marriage is 21 years. Why the government has put the legal age for marriage 18 for girls and 21 for boys? Because although the girl or the boy becomes reproductively active by the age of 11 or 12 or 13, but the legal age for marriage is 18 for the girls. Why is it so? Because the teenager, the girl itself is going through the changes taking place in our body. She is growing in height, weight, various changes taking place in her body, and if she gets pregnancy during this period, she might not be able to take care of the baby. She is not enough to take care of herself. How can she take care of the baby? That is why, to decrease or mitigate this adolescent pregnancy, the government has put the legal age 18 for the girls and 21 for the boys to get married, so that after marriage, after reaching this age, after becoming adult, they have gone through this adolescence period and they have better understanding and can take care of the baby. So these are some of the topics which we were to discuss today. Sex determination in humans, where the sex chromosomes X and Y takes part, and how to maintain the reproductive health, what nutritional needs, personal hygiene, physical exercise, saying no to drugs, and the problem of adolescent pregnancy. So I hope that you have understood this chapter very clearly, thoroughly. For better understanding, you should go through your textbook and you will understand it even better. For now, thank you.